Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Aftermath Hours, the weekly podcast of Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported website about video games, the internet, and everything that comes after. Aftermath is fully reader-supported, so if you like what you hear, you can subscribe at aftermath.site/products. Well, not that anymore, just go to the website. Or if you don't have money right now, we'd really appreciate if you could review the show on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Chris Person. Today I am joined by Gita Jackson.
Hello, I'm Gita.
And from the other side of the globe, Luke.
Good morning, everybody. It sounds like we need a new podcast script. Doc.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we need to edit that part of that.
Here's the thing is also, I have said this several times with Nathan, but I came up with that tagline and I don't like it anymore. But
It's
I think
fine.
that's just about time. It's fine. Taglines are hard. They're not easy to write.
It's fine.
And also, yeah. Thank you for that support, Chris, because every time I hear it or say it, I just think of how stupid I am.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Also, I don't think I've ever done the highlight reel voice for the intro, and it felt very nice.
That's wonderful.
People,
was
I
very
have
slick.
to tell you,
Yep.
Chris Person, I made you as a me in Tomodachi Life.
it's cool.
And I was able to use, you're living, you moved in with Nathan and then you left the house and moved in with Maddie Myers
Yeah.
instead.
Fair.
I
Very
feel
You
like
have a
neither
crush,
of those
you have a
would
crush
be-
on Betty Boop.
Oh yeah, no, that's wrong. But
I'm sorry. Yeah, but I was able to actually give you the highlight reel voice in Tomodachi Life. I'll have to
It's
take a
really
recording of
fucked
it at
up.
some point.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, but I got the cadence so perfectly right. I was so
yeah.
impressed.
I've said this before. It's basic. It's vaguely because it's like sometimes we'll get comments for like, "Why are you doing that voice?" And it's like, I don't know, because I've been doing it for 10 years, and it's actually based on Alan Partridge, like doing Sports Desk from
Oh,
the Day to Day.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a voice. This is Sports Desk with Alan Partridge, and he'll do like
Yeah.
one of my favorite, like, it's just if you've only ever seen like Steve Coogan in movies and stuff, really go back and watch Knowing Me, Knowing You, or
It's
The Day to
so
Day. Brass. Everyone knows.
Oh
A
my
lot of
God.
people know Brass Eye, but like, um, there's a part where Chris Morris says, and he's talking about like breaking the law, and he's like, "What do you think about people who break the law?" And he's like, "Not a big fan of people who break the." He's like, "I'm a big fan of the law, not a big fan of those who break it." That's my favorite fucking line.
So good.
Big fan of the law, not
I
too keen on those who break it. He's
I
so fucking good.
definitely knowing me, knowing you is the basis of a lot of my sense of humor. I was a person in high school where I would just obsessively pirate British cult comedy television shows. I was also a Mighty Boosh person, if that reveals anything. Yeah. But knowing me, knowing you is like special in that it's like there's subtle like stage design and really subtle comedy moments that still make me laugh. I love that I can't tell whether or not Alan Partridge's name gets bigger every single episode of Knowing Me, Knowing You. That feels like probably too much work for the BBC. And not even BBC, it was Channel 4. But it's become like such a pervasive rumor about that show that I just kind of love that it feels plausible. Alan Partridge is great.
I also
That's all.
there was a
We
later
have other
one.
things to talk about.
No, it's
today.
fine.
It's
I do
fine.
want to say the one I end up going back to the most, I think, is is actually from How Are You? It's Alan Partridge, or one of the ones, or I forget what it's called. The one they did later where he has like the guy who is just played by him, but he's Irish in a very specific way, and he just starts singing IRA songs, and Alan just gets really nervous.
Yeah,
It's like
wait.
still one of my favorite
My husband
bits.
brought that one up too recently.
Martin
loves that one.
Brennan. Martin Brennan is like so good. Anyway, what
Yeah,
are we talking about
no.
today? Not Alan
We're talking about
Partridge.
video games.
Okay.
I mean, let's talk about other highly specific memories from our youth. In fact, let's talk about a video game that celebrates those highly specific, really personal moments from our youth that we might have nostalgia for. Luke Plunkett, you played Mixtape,
I
and
did.
you had mixed feelings about it.
I did have mixed feelings about Mixtape, a game that actually speaks to nobody's specific memories of any place or time.
Can you imagine if one of those characters was like a really big fan of Alan Partridge? I feel like that
I
would
think
have
that would
improved the game.
be that, yeah, if or just any like obscure British comedy show from, if they were watching The Fast Show or Big
Yeah.
Train or something, the camera just pans and this stoner kid's watching Big Train
Mm.
on on his little
Yeah.
CRT TV.
Oh, I've disappeared.
Yes, I played Mixtape. If you haven't read it, I wrote what amounts to an aftermath review of the game on the site. I had zero expectations or feelings going into the game. Personally, I did go into the game having already read a lot of other people's thoughts on the game.
Yeah.
And the game that I found in it was, as Nathan put in his follow-up blog, not worth all of this stuff that people are talking about. If you're an Aftermath podcast listener, I'm assuming you're plugged into some level of video game discourse and are aware that, Mixtape has been the subject of a lot of discussion over the last week. Some of it incredibly, useful and insightful about how we package nostalgia and how we experience our youth, and other aspects of it in complete bad faith based on reactionary internet movements. And people have conflated a lot of those arguments into there being one argument about Mixtape. Nathan's piece is great because it spells out that's part of the reason why it's been so annoying is that there's been 2 or 3 separate conversations
Yeah. Yeah. And he's
rolling
quite
into sort of one
generous
snowball.
too. I think he's generous, very generous to the particular players in these conversations as well. There's one conversation that is like internet grifters being like, Mixtape is woke DEI, right? And then there's this other conversation that is happening among industry professionals and like some of our colleagues and peers where there is a realization that the people at these big sites like IGN, which is like the big site that still exists essentially, they're willing to give a game like Mixtape a 10 out of 10 because the people that remain in these pieces of employment often are white men to whom a game like Mixtape would appeal. Mixtape really speaks to a certain suburban white nostalgia, and it is interesting to watch people react to it because I'm from like white suburbia,
Right,
and
right.
you know
This is the
it.
thing. It's okay. So if you are just joining us and you have not seen or heard anything about Mixtape, it's a game that's essentially what, an adventure narrative
Yeah,
experience where
yeah,
you control it's focused on the story of 3 teenage friends who it's in the you're working through the lead up to a huge end of year party. It's their last year of high school. People are going their separate ways after this. It's a friendship group's last day.
yeah.
It's
It's
very
essentially the
standard.
plot of '90s teen comedy Can't Hardly Wait, which is a movie I've seen about 10 million times. You
I've seen
know?
it 10,000,001. We should have an entire episode just about
Oh my
Can't
god,
Hardly
I
Wait.
love Can't Hardly Wait
Sadly,
so much. Yeah,
there is not a single character in this film referencing any character in that film, but that's also another discussion for another day.
yeah,
Um, Basically, it's just 3 friends. It's controlled as a video game. It's very loose. Is it basically takes place in a lot of kids' bedrooms or a lot of locations where you walk around interacting with things that brings up memories or conversations. It's very just sort of narrative driven, and then every once in a while, those sections are interspersed with a more actiony, video gamey sequence where you might be skateboarding down a hill or skimming rocks across a lake or getting fucking blasted and trying to go into a video store and rent 3 films, which is by
yeah.
far this game's highlight. Anyway, it's very harmless. But I guess the issue that Gita's just referenced there is that it's a game that is entirely, and whether they've intended this or not, it's a nostalgic video game. It is by setting it in the 90s, by making it in a certain place at a certain time, it is trying to speak to a certain brand of white suburban elder millennial
Hmm.
experiences. And what I found really funny is that what Gita said about it appealing to certain people is obviously true because it has appealed to them. I sat down with it like I'm as laser targeted as this game's going to get. My entire teenage years were contained within the 90s. I was an insufferable weirdo about my musical tastes. I would try and impose those and judge other people according to them. I lived in a place I desperately wanted to get out of. Like
Hmm.
I had weird and overcomplicated relationships with friends. This game was like trying to speak directly to me, and it still missed. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Something yeah, something, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but like something that I never understand is identifying with that time period because like you said, like wanting to leave a place to become, what is it, like a music supervisor?
so weird.
It's a really weird choice.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, I did. Like the stuff I'm nostalgic for, to the extent that I am nostalgic for anything, is like 25 to 35. like that's my like, oh man, I had enough money, things were still sort of cheap. I was still getting kind of hammered and high and irresponsible, but like I don't have anything. I've never identified personally with like teen
Hmm.
nostalgia because I
Mm.
would like to forget a lot of
We
that.
Well, so
we
the thing
also
the thing
grew
with
up.
this game not identifying with teens, and this is the right. So the crux of my review is that it fails on both of its attempts, in that it fails to evoke any kind of feeling or spirit or place of the 90s whatsoever. Like this, it just completely whiffs on that, which is fine. It doesn't have to. It's if they've intentionally made some kind of, you know, simulacrum of the 90s, like a snow globe diorama of a decade, that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
What I bring up is, as a comparison, is the film Dazed and Confused, which obviously is
Yes.
is set in a specific time and place. It's set in 1976, but its characters are so real. They're written as teenagers. It- all the things that happen in the game are so relatable, and the characters in it are such archetypes to real people that I watched that movie in the 90s, set in the 70s, and related to it. My daughter can
Yeah.
watch it now and relate to the characters in it. It's
Yeah.
universally a teen nostalgic experience because it makes you nostalgic for the experiences and the people and the friendships of
Yeah.
being it, and the coming of age experience of your first night out with older people, or going in a car, or drinking for the first time. It's
Yeah.
very universal, and it whiffs on that too, because it falls into this real Dawson's Creek trap of just massively overwriting every character and having each
Yeah.
character speak to you like they're 29 years old and are an
So
insufferable, like,
the
yeah.
best aspect of the actual movies, like, because more so than the real experiences of life, what I pick up from the marketing is that they are trying to capture the mood the tone of a 90s teen drama, 90s teen comedy. This was actually something that I studied in the cinema studies department at Oberlin College, where I wrote extensively about 90s teen movies. But in particular, especially this Can't Hardly Wait and also Empire Records. And if you look at those two movies, those characters are not actually really fulfilled, well thought out, fully rounded characters. They are basically archetypes that are played by really charismatic actors and actresses. And also, they create cultures and reference points that only the characters will know within those films. So they're not actually drawing on real life reference points. In Can Hardly Wait, when the popular guy runs into the high school quarterback that is still going to high school parties, like that isn't referencing something from my life, but it is a type of guy that I
Hmm.
recognize and a type of relationship I recognize. The whole Empire Records plot about Rex Manning Day. Rex Manning is not a real pop star, but they wrote a really corny pop song for this movie because we know about what that feels like, and it feels more authentic to be fake than try to strive for the real. I think people, especially in the bouncing off of it, Cameron Kunzelman had a blog that I thought was really good
Hmm.
about what he didn't like uh about mixtape. It's that it is not offering up a specific hit of nostalgia, but a generalized amorphous a nostalgia blob as product. It
Yep.
doesn't want to remind you of something specific, but kind of give you a good vibesy feeling that doesn't actually speak to real experiences. If there was a moment like today's Rex Manning Day, or Damn the Man, or the goth girl in the Empire Records shaving her head because she's so pissed off today. If there was a moment like that in this game, that spoke to what the characters are actually going through, and also made you think, yes, when I was a teenager, I was dramatic, and these things felt important, even though they weren't. I think there would be a little bit of a different response here. But it
Yep.
feels like, especially based on what you said here, that it is too focus tested, essentially. I mean, here's one thing that I'm
I,
really
I
curious
don't I
about how
don't know
you
if it's
feel.
I don't know if it's focus tested. It just feels more like, and I described this in the piece. It just feels more like an artist's impression of the 90s based on someone else telling it to them secondhand, or like
Mhm.
it's removed. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
I
the
One thing I wish is, like, I wish this game is made by Australian devs. I
was.
wish it was set in Australia. I wish these were
Yeah.
Australian teenagers.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. I like how I love that movie Dogs in Space, which you won't watch because it stars somebody horror you don't like. I forget who.
I don't like him.
Yeah.
Don't like him.
It's a good movie if you guys like weird coming of age movies like Suburbia or things like that. And you want the Australian version of that? There's one called Dogs in Space. It's just about like what it's like to live in a shithole punk house in Sydney, like when David Bowie was around, and like touring or something like that. Has anyone here seen Reality Bites in the last like 5 years?
I
No,
love
not in the
Reality
last
Bites.
5
It's one
years.
of my favorite movies of all time. I
know what?
love that movie.
I was so waiting for someone to mention either Reality Bites or Singles. It was going to be one of
Well,
the two.
Singles is also incredible.
Singles is
Cameron
good.
Crowe
Reality Bites
nailed
is
it.
good though because it
Yeah.
was written on spec by a 20-year-old. And so
Yeah.
the reason
can
why
feel
you go
that.
back and you
Yep.
watch it and you're like, fuck, this still feels really resonant. It's not because they're in the 90s. It's because a fucking 20-year-old did it. And like as a
Yeah.
result, it has 20-year-old ass like tones
If
and
you have
notes.
just
and
graduated from college, I first watched that movie like the day before I graduated from college. If you have just graduated from college and you have no idea what you're supposed to do with your life, that movie hits so hard.
Yeah,
It's like
even
getting
now.
punched in the chest.
there are like
Even now, it
there
brings
are
me back to it. Yeah.
things that like Helen Childress is she this is the first thing she wrote it on spec is my understanding, and like it's like you're like, oh, like because you want to like get the reactionary like things were different back then kind of attitude, and you go back and you watch that movie and it's like, oh no, people are still fucking stupid. Like people are still like kids are still that way.
Yeah.
Kids are still that way. They have phones
Yeah.
now. They act different, but like the fundamental behavior is not unique, and like that's really
Yeah.
affirming. And it's
Oh.
also a weird form. Like when you actually really dig into the text, it's anti-nostalgia in certain ways. Like there is
Mhm.
nostalgia core around it because of where it's placed in history, but like the thing that I'm more interested in is the now, and I want like young people shit. I don't want like 30 or 40-year-old like, you know what, like
Yeah.
you said though, like Nathan said, doesn't matter, doesn't hurt me. It's just what do I want from coming of age stories, and I kind of want something that feels like it was made by someone even fairly recently. The fact that we are
I mean,
I mean,
you want the story, you want the characters who are young to sound and feel and be engaged in things that are young instead of standing in front of a camera and delivering these lengthy monologues. And you're like, nobody who is 18 would ever speak like this. Like,
mhm.
this is clearly the work of like, I don't know who made it, specific, like who the writers were specifically, but like a 29-year-old person, this
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a teenager to me, so I cannot relate to the coming of age story because
Yeah.
it just feels inauthentic
Yeah.
when I'm supposed to
Singles.
be. If this is an experience that is trying to reach back into my childhood or try to speak to the experience of being a teenager coming of age, that character needs to, at least on some level and to some degree, feel like a
Yeah.
dumb teenager. And
yeah.
very few of the characters in Mixtape do, with the exception of, and I want to get this on the pod, Slater, who I love, and I really wish the game had been about Slater. Slater
Mhm.
is the main cast of the game is a trio of friends. Two of them are very sort of, one is your main playable character, the obnoxious music weirdo. One is the formerly very tightly wound good girl who's now on a destructive, rebellious spree. Her dad's a local sheriff, cop, whatever. A third is Slater. Slater's just like the happy-go-lucky, carefree stoner skater kid who makes synth music in his spare
Perfect.
time.
I
And-
know that kid.
And
Yeah.
he is the exception. He is like he's basically spends the game going, yeah, man, whatever, cool, like let's do it, in a very sort of fun way. And his hallmark scene is like the highlight of the game, and it's the only moment the game really speaks to me, and I hope speaks to most people anywhere near our age. Is the three of them are on the three friends are on the hood of a car looking up at the sky, getting wasted, very standard teen story stuff.
Mhm.
And then they're like, oh, we should watch a movie. And they're like, oh, I'm too fucked to go into the movie store, it's too scary, and you have to go, Slater. He's like, oh, okay. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, this was me from the age of 17 to 26, was like going to a friend's house and getting really fucking high and then trying to rent DVDs and really struggling because the bright lights and the staff and the other people in there, and
Yep.
you can't remember which movies you wanted. It's a harrowing experience.
It's awful. Yeah.
And so
Oh
you have to
God.
and so you have to your mission in this sequence is to just walk into a video store, and they're like, you need to get 3 movies, 2 weeklies, and 1 new release. And I'm like, oh, amazing. And it's got the the standard I'm drunk slash high in a video game thing
Hmm.
where the camera moves and it's hard to control and stuff.
Oh,
And
that's
you have to walk
beautiful.
into the store, and every cover in the store you can zoom in on and pick up and physically interact with. And when you turn around wasted, you knock some off the shelf and stuff. And it's really hard to find which movies. But then you're agonizing over which movie because you're like, oh, do I want this 80s horror movie or do I want a nature documentary? And like every movie they've put on the shelf is like something some fucking
Yeah.
wasted 18-year-old would hire. And there's
Cactus Galactus in chat just mentions before weed was legal everywhere, in America at least, the everybody knows dread was so real. And that was like, I could not be high around people as
yep.
a teenager because I thought everyone knew and was going to kill me.
Yep.
This is
And so
a yeah.
this sequence, you end up like successfully doing it. I don't know. Well, I did. I don't know if it's a game over scenario
I
where you
hope
somehow
so.
where
It should be a
you like
fantastic.
you like panic and you bail without any videos. But just that one sequence was like, this is what I wanted from a game like this. I mean, yes, it was a video store, so it was speaking to a very sort of 80s, 90s experience because obviously younger people have never used one. That's fine. But just the experience of being a kid fucked up in a public space and being really stressed about it was a really relatable coming of age experience. And I'd really wished more of the game had been about that kind of feeling, because that was
Yeah.
ironically, for a game that we've spent this much time and has spent the last week getting blasted for how inauthentic and not nostalgic it is, that was one of the finest pieces of teen nostalgia I've ever got to like watch and play through, because it was so specific to the experience. So even if you
Yeah.
weren't a kid in the 80s or 90s when there were video stores, you can still understand, okay, well, it's the same as going into a vape store or a
Like any,
supermarket or any
yeah, exactly.
place of
Yeah.
commerce where you walk in and suddenly you realize you've overcommitted yourself because everyone else around you is fine and the lights are too bright, and you're going to have to talk to someone and you're going to have to do maths because
And
you're buying something. Yeah,
you look
yeah.
crazy, you know that your eyes look
Yeah.
crazy
It's the
and you
most
can't.
it's the most,
Yeah.
"Oh, no, what have I done?" sort of feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God,
I really
that's
wish there'd
lovely.
been more of that in the game.
You know,
Um,
it's interesting. I see Australians pick up the Rage TV shirt and be like, that hits in a
no, it
particular
doesn't.
way for me.
I
Really?
found that okay, I didn't post about this because it would make the people I was replying to feel bad, but so Rage is a really long-running Australian TV show on our national. We have a publicly funded station here that's sort of more prominent than PBS is in the US. It's called the ABC. It's one of our 5 major TV networks. They've had a TV show running since the 70s, maybe early 80s. It's probably early 80s, called
87.
Rage. And it's 87. There you go. All right, I was way off. Okay, all right. There had to be music videos, so of course it was the mid 80s.
Mhm.
Rage is it goes overnight on a Saturday night, and it just plays music videos all night. And sometimes they get a special guest in. So if some musicians, and it doesn't have to be a popular musician, it can just be like a cool band or whatever, are touring, they'll get them into guest program, and that artist will get to play the videos they like and intro them all through the night. And it goes late at night, all through night. So basically, Rage is famous for anyone who just was up late at night in their young years and was into music. You were watching Rage, or the next morning when you woke up hungover, Rage is what you put
Mhm.
on TV. So it very much speaks to a coming of age musical thing.
Mhm.
But you the people wearing t-shirts with the Rage logo is a very recent development, like the
Real?
last
Oh, it's like
5
the
years.
Thrasher
It's
shirt thing? Yeah.
Yes, it is very much falls into Cameron's nostalgia as commerce thing.
Interesting, interesting,
People
interesting.
absolutely did not wear Rage t-shirts, but until very, very recently. So even seeing someone wearing a Rage t-shirt in their game, I get they're not trying to speak to the same idea as someone wearing their shirt now, but also like when I saw that shirt, I was like, oh man, I get it,
Yeah.
it's a nod because you're Australian developers. Also, you're Australian developers. You had multiple chances to do more Australian shit in the game than put I mean, they did. They put Mondo Rock in the game, which was a very unexpected. Um, and Silverchair, I guess. But Silverchair, it being in a 90s game, is the least surprising musical
Yeah,
selection
that's fine.
of those songs. And as I posted on Blue Sky, it's only Silverchair's second best 90s cultural implementation after the Street Fighter 2 anime, where they put Ken, the Western version has Ken in Seattle, driving down the road in his convertible sports car, listening to Silverchair.
Is that in
Yeah,
the
it was.
is that in the dub or both versions?
It's only in the English version. It's not in the Japanese version. Has a different soundtrack.
Okay.
It's only in the English version. So
Fascinating.
yeah.
Side note that if you ever want to see my favorite version of, what is it? Who did the the guy who did the composer of Lupin the Third passed away this week,
Mm.
and also did Space Pirate Cobra, which is like fantastic. If you've ever
Mhm.
seen that, and the American version or the Western version of that, they swapped all his music out for the band Yellow, and
That used to be on the cover.
bowl,
That used to be a selling point on the
Yeah.
cover of that movie.
It's
Yeah.
one of the weirdest dubs. It kind of works
It is.
sometimes. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so the thing with mixtape and the thing with like that Rage T-shirt and all the other stuff in it is, we've talked a lot about it now. A lot of the discussion has revolved around the way it's whiffed at any kind of nostalgia or coming of age feeling, I think, which is disappointing given the game's prominence, and also makes you wonder about the childhood experiences of those it did speak to, because I don't know how it did that. It
I've seen a couple people, Kyla Hunter, called it like landlord core. The music is what how she referred to it.
Oh,
That
no,
yeah,
no child is listening to that music in the night. Like I said in my review, I said the only person with that playlist has been made as insufferable as they are by the internet. Like you would not have done that through
yeah,
record
yeah,
stores and friends in the 90s. It's very odd. But the thing I wanted to say is we've criticized its nostalgia. Other people have talked only about its setting and only about its story. I think that's all very, necessary because of what the game is and what it's packaged as. The one thing I wish we were talking more about was that it's still a fun video game anyway. It's
yeah,
like we
yeah,
can assess a video game story as we would a film or a TV show. That's fine. It's a mature medium. We're allowed to do that. But hey, bonus, we love video games because they also do cool shit that the other mediums don't. And this isn't something you sit and watch for 4 hours. It's a video game that you quite often play. And
yes,
and so the
yes,
conversational bits, whatever. But the action sequences in this game, I think, warrant more discussion than they're getting, because for all the
yeah,
ways that the story and the setting are a letdown, I feel like the way that it's able to use video games to make certain sections of it comically, it's like, okay, let me put it like this.
okay,
The game takes every, I don't know, 20 minutes. It breaks up its normal pattern of walk around, talk to people, with an explosive, quite often hilarious gameplay sequence that I described in my review as Dawson's Creek meets WarioWare, where you will be talking to people for 20 minutes and then it will just cut to this absurd, exaggerated gameplay sequence where things are happening that aren't really happening. It's like you're doing an action sequence based on the emotions that you're currently feeling right now, not what's actually happening in the game world. So the game is the most mundane coming of age, small town story, whatever. But there's a sequence where two of the characters have a fight and you storm out and you skateboard down the hill. And during this sequence, you're given the power to make every car around you explode and every billboard that you skate past shatter into a million wooden shards. And like, it's incredibly cool. It's kind of, it feels like Burnout. It feels like you're playing Burnout, like you're
hmm
racing, but you're also just making shit blow up all the time. And obviously that's not happening in game. That's absurd. But it's speaking to the feeling of rage that you would have been
yeah,
feeling. And it's something that you wish you would have been able to do because you were so angry and you couldn't process it because you're
yes,
17 or
yes,
18 and you don't know
yeah.
what to do.
There's
And
something there. That
there's
is
something
something that
there
can,
in those
yeah,
playable moments. There's a, I don't want to speak to too many of them because some of them are amazing, but this is really early in the game and you've probably seen it. So whatever. When the main character has a flashback to her first kiss, it starts to play as a flashback scene. You're like, whatever, that's fine. And then when she kisses the boy that she's kissing, the camera cuts to the inside view of their mouths. together,
Ooh.
and there's two
That's the cat person still image.
there's
Yeah.
two glistening, meaty, fleshy tongues just filling your
Ugh.
screen, and then a little prompt comes up on the bottom with two thumbsticks, and it's like left thumbstick is you, and the
Okay,
right
now I
thumbstick
like it. I'm
is
sorry.
the
Now I
bloke.
like that. That's
Yeah,
disgusting. I'm
that's
sorry.
good.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Moving each thumbstick just wraps the tongues around each other, and they're slapping against each other, and there's saliva flying everywhere, and it's making this awful sucking
Oh,
saliva noise.
That is making out
beautiful.
when you're a teenager. It's just
There's
it's
no,
wrong.
it is right. There's no
Yeah.
there's no victory condition to this. You know, there's no countdown timer. You just do it for a bit, and then it stops. But again, like you just said, it actually is like, man, you are a really bad kisser when you're a kid, and they captured in that slapping sound and all that feeling that the story itself and the characters themselves are unable to make you feel like that little playable sequence did. And so again, there's
Yeah.
this, it just shows
It's
that
wonderful.
it does have these moments where it does achieve what it's trying to do, and those come through most frequently not in the lengthy, overly written narrative sequences and cutscenes. It's in these little snippets of gameplay where you are taking control of a very distinct memory or feeling of being an 18-year-old. I'm assuming they're 18 because they're last year. Is that how I don't know how old you
Yeah,
are.
that's how it works in America. Yeah, you're
Okay,
17 or 18 when you graduate.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was 17 when I graduated high school. Close enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those little moments. You know, there's another one where you're skipping stones on a lake, and it just suddenly becomes like, I wish there was a whole game about this, because you find yourself aiming at cans on the riverbank and stuff, and it's just that same thing where skipping stones, you're down there and suddenly it becomes a hyper focus, and you're just skimming stones, and it's really fun. You just keep doing it. It's like, that's really nice. And the birds are singing, and you know, it's a beautiful day.
That's yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I just wish we could talk about those bits as much as everyone seems obsessed about talking about, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game's setting and characters and story, because it people are like, oh, this game fails at those things, and it's like, narratively, yes, it does. But this is a video game,
Mhm.
and there is an interactive element to this. There's a playable aspect of this video game that is
Yeah.
actually occasionally delivering on that, and keeps, like, I finished it. You know, as negative as my feelings were to the setting and the chosen storyline and stuff, I still finished it because it's those little sequences like, that was cool. Oh, that was cool. Oh, that was fun. Oh, that was interesting. And yeah, it's not like this game is a bad video game. It's not a disaster.
Mhm.
It's just something that tried to do something that is hard to do, and it failed.
Yeah.
But through the
I think
magic of video games, it's still
it
able
still
to have
succeeds.
these aspects worthy of like investigation and discussion, just because they're interesting on their own in ways that any other kind of medium that can only present a story to you can't.
Yeah. I mean, I think it also does a disservice to what games press is supposed to like be, to not talk about the game, right?
Mhm.
Because the other side of this conversation that's happening here is there's a games press that is lamenting that, oh god, we're back in a situation where there's so few sites and so few salary jobs that white guy nostalgia stuff is going to be upheld once again as the most important experiences of all time. Valid crash out. Honestly, I completely understand. I don't know if it's worth doing it all over mixtape and having mixtape be the focus of that, but like that is a real fear, and it's a real thing that is happening. Like there's fewer and fewer places to write, and there's fewer
Yeah.
and fewer marginalized people that have access to those spaces.
Yeah.
It is valid to be worried about what that means about what games we uphold and how we critique them and how we describe them. But simultaneously, there's this other conversation that is like, it's a woke DEI game,
Yeah, that was the
and
other
there's
part.
not even any gameplay. There's no gameplay, so how is it even a video game? Like that stuff, like as games press, it is worth your time to say there are gameplay moments in this game, right? I feel this way. This is me being a little bit cunty, sorry. But I feel this way also about the way that some people in the press and also just players of this game talk about Titanium Court, which is a game that is beloved and that people love and think is really fantastic. I got a text from my friend Max to be like, you gotta play Titanium Court, it's incredible. And I'm sure it is. But I went to the Steam page and watched a trailer, and I was like, what is this game? Like, what am I going to be doing in it? Because I don't want to buy a game and then have it be like a fucking puzzle platformer, which is not a game I can play. I had
Yep.
experience where people were like, you have to play Celeste, you'll love it. And I bought the game, and Celeste is a puzzle platformer, and I'm not good at those games, and I don't like them. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, well,
There's a
wasted
comment
money.
under there's a comment under my review, and I'm not saying this to like bring credit to my own review. I'm just saying it speaks to what Gita's saying. Someone replied saying, "Thank you for actually talking about the gameplay, as opposed to so many other reviews that basically reviewed a book about their own childhoods." And it's like,
Yeah.
I read that, and then I went back and read a lot
You
of other
gotta,
reviews, and I was like, "Yeah, you guys got to mention the skateboarding. Like
you
the
gotta,
skateboarding is good in this
yeah.
game. The mini games in this game are good.
How
They
is
are
the
games.
fun
They are
factor?
game bits. You know,
I
it's
mean,
I'm not saying you had to like carve out distinct subsections of your review for here is the gameplay, here are the skateboarding, because there's a lot of skateboarding sections. Here, there's also a shopping cart section
Mhm.
where you're in a police chase like OJ. It's weird. Um,
wouldn't have done that if I were
Oh,
there.
I mean,
little
it's
weird.
this. They set this one at nighttime, so it's slightly different, but it is also odd. You can mention it, man, like I just did, because the reason I mentioned it so extensively at the end is like it does. You need to acknowledge that they do accomplish their goals in some respect, and they accomplish
Yeah.
them in through the specific ways that video games are able to accomplish them. And if you're only assessing this game in terms of its narrative without at least having a cursory mention of gameplay, not to tick a box, but to strengthen or complement what you've already said about the narrative in ways that it's able to tie into it and speak to feelings in their own sections like that, I think you haven't written a very good review of what's essentially an interactive work.
Yeah.
I want to call attention to a really good, very pitchfork style pan, like a classic pitchfork pan that they just released of the most recent Chris Brown album that has also
Mhm.
been talked about in like pop culture circles. They gave the album a 1.3, and I just love it when they do that. And what I do find interesting is that even though this author goes in super fucking hard on what Chris Brown is, who he represents, at one point says, like, I can see the inevitable Chris Brown biopic that launders,
Mhm.
his history in the same exact way that's happened to Michael Jackson. But he does say multiple times, like, I tried to find things in here to like and appreciate. It's just that this album is such an attempt to rewrite literal history for this man that everything comes undone. And I appreciate that this author went out of their way to say, I tried to find things to like, because I do actually think that is part of the role of being a critic. Going in and being a hater, that's a pose you can take on, especially if something deserves it. I do think though that you can't only ever be a hater, and you also can't only ever be openly laudatory. But if you're going to be a hater, you have to acknowledge when they do hit. Like, you do have to acknowledge
You
that
Yeah.
gotta, you
there are
gotta,
things that are good.
you gotta
There's a
hand it to him.
there's
Sometimes,
a
even as a
really
hater, you gotta hand it to him.
I probably mentioned
Yeah.
this before. It's my favorite Orson Welles clip where he's like talking to the French press about Elia Kazan, how he's a fucking narc
Yeah.
and evil and shitty.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is like a 30 to 40-second clip. I urge you to look it up. And it ends with, he's like, fantastic director. Not taking that away from him. Cause he's like, he's right. He's like, but he's correct. Cause he's like, Elia Kazan is a really good fucking director. And he used that
Yeah.
power to launder his betrayal. And like, you
Yes.
get to, like, being honest about the quality of the work is important to criticism. And
Mhm.
I will say, I think a larger, like, this has been commented on, I think that like a big part of it is just like not just the number of critics, the whiteness of the critics, but also the number itself. We are haunted by numbers. If we just got like, if
Mhm.
IGN took numbers away, the slop tube
Yeah.
economy would just collapse. They would have nothing
Yeah.
to fucking work on. They would have to invent new demons because a
Yeah.
number is a thing you can just grab and remove from its context, but words
Yeah.
are harder.
I mean, for 10 years, we've been hearing 7.8 out of 10 too much water, right? Which is
Mm.
just not even based on a real thing that even really happened, and is about a game that does frankly have too much water.
It's too much water. I'm
Like,
sorry. It's frankly too much water.
that game has too much water, and it is annoying. And if you haven't played it recently, you'll know what I'm
There was a
talking
lot
about.
of water in it.
It was
See,
ridiculous.
when you think of review scores, I just think of the GIF of the Polygon review scores that someone on NeoGAF made when they changed their Mario Kart score. They just made a rotating. It was the old Polygon review score badge, but it just constantly changes from like 10, 4, 2, 6, 3, 9, and it just goes through every number really quickly and just never stops because it's a GIF. And I'm like, that's all I
That's
think
perfect.
about review scores now.
Yeah, I mean, as a publication, we don't do reviews, and part of that is because we have all worked on the grind of a review, and we don't find the return good for us. And also, I personally don't think crunching for a review is a good way to evaluate a game. I would rather write my impressions and then continue to talk and talk and talk about the things that
Yeah.
are good and not good as the game continues to exist, because most people actually play games over a series of weeks and not crunching in like 48 hours and then trying to write something. I will always hate something that I have to do quickly. I will always hate it, especially if it's a new game that I don't really know how to play and it's going to frustrate me. But also, like, when we were at Kotaku, all of us, we didn't have review scores there. And part of that was because people will not actually read the review. They'll just look at the score. It isn't that IGN gave a 10 to a game that people think after having played it is bad. It's the idea of Mixtape getting a 10 from IGN that is so offensive to this grifter sphere.
Mhm.
It's the idea of a game that is not, say, GTA 6 getting a 10 that is so offensive to these people. And it doesn't even matter what the review says. It's just Mixtape IGN 10, and that's the thing they care about.
Yep. I mean, this is a rare moment of review score engagement with me. When I saw that 10, I was like,
I mean, that was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind
I
of
always
wild.
when I see people give really high review scores, I try to imagine, because you instantly think, as someone who's reviewed games, you instantly think of games that you've reviewed higher or more, you've heaped more praise on than some of your peers may have, because it's spoken to you in some way. And that's, I think, if you're able to explain why, I think that's fine. Even taking that into account, I saw that 10 and was like,
Yeah, I
what?
mean, for me, I have a letterbox that I use just to log movies, and I try to keep myself, when I'm doing like the star reviews, it's 1 to 5 stars. I try to keep myself honest and look at the context of other reviews star reviews I've given to things. Almost every movie I watch is a 3 out of 5, and that means to me, I liked this, I enjoyed this, this was a fun time in the theater. Weapons for me is a 3 out of 5. Great time in the theater. Stuff about it I don't really like. Stuff about it that I think is not awesome. I think it's basically a good movie. There aren't overwhelming flaws in it
Yeah.
that would make it less than a 3 for me. When I look at my letterbox and my story graph, the stuff that I've rated 5 stars, that's rare. It's rare when something is a 5-star movie. And it should be infrequent and it should be special. This is a 10 should be almost impossible for a game to get, essentially.
I always think there used to be this old, I'm sure it's blown out now to the point where it's not as important, but there used to be a collection of Edge 10s. And that was like, if you had to look at games that were going to get a 10, you would look at the Edge 10s, because it used to only be like 8 games. And you'd be like, and you'd look at that list and you'd be like, yeah, that's a 10, that is an all-timer. And like, I don't want to shit on someone else's personal engagement with the game too much, but also when you work at a place that gives review scores and you give something a 10, like, you better mean it.
Yeah.
And I just
wish
I
more
hold
people knew.
mixtape up to other games that are in that kind of pantheon, and I'm like, I just can't see
I
at
think
any level.
Gone Home is the obvious 10 out of the covering
Genre.
of a
Yeah.
genre
Yeah.
for this game.
That was
Gone
actually
Home, Oxenfree was mentioned in chat.
Oxenfree,
Gone
man.
Home though,
Yep,
yeah, Oxenfree is
Oxenfree.
fucking
You
fantastic.
want to
Yeah.
play a game with teenagers? Fucking play Oxenfree.
The
Um,
conversations
yep,
and the dialogue writing in
yep,
that game is immaculate.
yep.
And
Yeah.
then it also deals with teenagers dealing with loss, which is an intense and confusing experience when you're young.
And
And
also the
yeah,
fucked up way that they deal with like friendship dynamics in smaller groups within larger groups, and like all
yeah,
the
yeah,
little
yeah.
complicated. Yeah, it's Oxenfree.
I thought Oxenfree is fantastic. I really enjoyed that
Hmm.
game, and I played it a couple of times because I found it really moving. I mean, ironically, while this mixtape conversation has been going on, I read twice. I read this book, Negative Space by B.R. Yeager, which does speak to my very specific kind of nostalgia. Chris, I think we grew up in the same place at around the same time. So a lot of my
Like
high
New
school
England.
experience was like, yeah, New England was like, I was this is a book that takes place in New Hampshire, and it's about like a lot of fucked up teenagers who are
Hmm.
addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
And it is so much like my high school experience, which was occurred during the first wave of the opioid epidemic. There was a lot of oxy in my school,
Yep.
and uh, it is this nice edge balance of I'm having the greatest time of my life to I think I want to fucking kill myself.
To be
And this
perfectly,
book
yeah.
really speaks to that malaise so perfectly.
I also
Like there's a lot of pain and nostalgia too.
I think that like if you're gonna do a coming of age story, I think it's strange to set it in the Pacific Northwest and Northern California and
There's
then
a
just
lot of
generalize it.
them
There's too many
also.
of them, frankly. I want someone who grew up in Baltimore. What's the Baltimore version of that? What's the fucking
Yeah.
Chicago version of that? What's the like
I
deep
want to see
South
like what's the
like?
Santa Fe
Yeah,
version of that?
sure.
Like
What's
what's
the
the fucking Alabama version of
what
that,
Santa
right?
Fe would be
Also,
terrifying. You know
this
what I
is
mean?
funny.
Like,
This actually
Yeah.
speaks to something that again is kind of damning on who is left in a prominent position in the gaming media to review this stuff, because obviously a lot of the major reviews are written by Americans. People like myself, I don't know why I said it like that, Australians.
People of Australian heritage.
yes,
People from
as we
communities,
have said,
people from
people from the
communities like
global
my own,
south.
which is from the global south, Australia.
Yes, yes.
Um, we our upbringing by the 80s and 90s was so similar to the American experience, from suburban design to the importance of cars, to strip mall, local shopping center stuff, to the music, to the movies, that I can watch stuff from the 80s and 90s set in the US and feel instantly like
Yeah.
almost it's
Actually,
very, whereas I've had a lot of people reach out to me in like DMs and replies who I know in the UK, and they're like, I don't know what you guys are arguing about, man. It's fine. It's so removed for them. Like
yeah.
the
I mean,
experience of
talking
that game is
to
so removed for a British or a European
yeah,
person that
yeah.
it's a complete. I wonder if we've suffered from some kind of cultural uncanny valley, where
Hmm.
by being too close to it, we've been repulsed by it because it doesn't actually hit it. Whereas
You
for
know,
people who grew up with a completely different experience in a European city can look at it, and they don't realize that or don't care because it's so abstract and foreign to them, and they've engaged with it in a completely different way than we have, just
speaking
because
of
of that.
cultural nostalgia objects, though, the UK, the Channel 4 television show Skins actually
Mm-hmm.
speaks to like my real high school experience,
Man,
which
it's fucked
was
up.
a lot of people who fucking hated each other, all in the same friend group, forced to party with each other all the time, doing drugs constantly, fucking each other constantly, and barely like making it through school by the skin of their teeth. Like
Have
that,
you seen Dairy Girls?
I haven't seen Dairy Girls. You're not the first person to recommend.
Okay, yeah,
I would really
another
like
great
to watch
example
it.
of a coming of age show set in the 90s that actually hits at
Yeah.
what it's doing, and
Yeah.
that's from a British experience. So
Yeah.
um,
I think it's actually diving into the specificity that makes those things hit.
right,
I
well,
think
it's
like
I get, so
yeah.
Dairy Girls is specifically set during the Troubles. Like it's like the lead up to the peace accord in Northern Ireland actually plays a very significant part in
Oh
this
great.
teen coming of age show's storyline, and that gives it a real anchoring in a time and a place, while at the same time it's also about 4 or 5 girls who are just like doing dumb shit because they're in high school.
Great.
Like,
I
yes,
mean,
it's
remember the book Songs, Angus, and Full Frontal Snogging? I also love that about a British schoolgirl that is just trying to figure out how to be a person, essentially. At one point, I thought it was the funniest thing in the world when I read it in high school. She shaves off. She's trying to pluck her eyebrows thinner, which was at the time the style, the global beauty standard, and she plucks them entirely off. And she writes a melancholy post in her journal about being like, "Hey, I'm looking up at the moon. I realize that so many people are looking up at the same moon as me, and I wonder how many of them don't have eyebrows right now."
That
And
was
like,
going to be the Vincent D'Onofrio pig tweet.
yeah,
There was
no,
her with
it's
no eyebrows looking up at the moon for the first.
so
Also,
beautiful.
speaking to the earlier conversation, I will say, as people in the chat had pointed out, I was going to get to is the reason why Night in the Woods is good is because it's in like
Yes.
fucking the
Yeah.
Rust Belt. Like that's part of the reason
Yeah,
why it's good is because the
Pennsylvania.
town is
Yeah.
fucking falling apart. It's like Richard Scary Pittsburgh. It's fucking great. Like that's the reason why that game is good.
Richard Scary Vicksburg should be on the box. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to also mention me and Chris posted a VG chat about Sorrows, a game that
Mhm.
we've both played, and now Chris has, I think, you finished it
Yeah, I did.
completely. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
in the middle of it.
yeah.
I just want to bring it up mostly because in our VG chat we talked about a lot of things that we liked about it, but we did not extend nearly enough space to the subject of orbs.
Mhm.
This is the most orb heavy game since like the late 2000s. I think
It's a very
there's
it's
so many
extremely
orbs in this game.
Well, it's a house mod
Yeah,
game too. I mean, like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you are Finnish, you just have a deep bone heavy like this is the thing about Sectori, which by the way, as of today, uh, available on Switch 2. So if you have a Switch 2 and you want to
Oh,
play Sectori, the game made by a former Housemarque developer that is basically like the true successor to Geometry Wars, and I would say in many ways better. Um, get Sectori for Switch too. But no, yeah, it's a very orb heavy game. It's also very funny. I've seen people sort of talk about like the ways in which the arcadiness of it is dissonant with the plot, and I'm sorry, that's a skill issue. Just learn how to separate those two parts of your brain. If you just
yeah. Like
it's
another thing that is like, I don't think they're dissonant at all either,
it's
right? Like
fine.
we mentioned this in brief, but Saros is a game where you play a guy who sucks,
He
played by
does.
the most beautiful man of all time,
He's
Raul
he
Coley.
sounds so good. Like he
I mean,
sounds he's like there with like Ralph. He's like a younger like in terms
like
of
the
creating
playing, yeah,
in terms of creating a guy who you can put in video games who just sounds fucking cool. Rahul Kohli is like so he sounds like his I didn't know he had that voice in him in that way.
yeah, his like serious guy, I'm a cop voice is really doing something. I also really love when you run for too long, he starts like wetly panting,
Yeah,
like
they up the panting a lot. It's very fun.
it's kind of erotic. I'm not gonna lie, it's
Okay,
kind of a
okay,
lot.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, I like I haven't played the game, but I do like that he's like proper hot, not
Yeah.
yeah,
not
yeah.
39-year-old white male concept artist idea of hot. Like,
No,
because I saw him, and I this is long time readers. My great IRL litmus test is my wife because she's terminally offline.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm worried something is online, I will I need a reality check. I will show my wife, and
hmm
she will give a normal person's verdict. I know she knows that the correct answer to who is the hottest person in the Dune trilogy is Oscar Isaac at the
hmm
start of the first film
uh
when he's
Mhm.
the beard and the
yeah.
jacket and like dad
Mm,
hot. And
hmm
that's the bucket I put this character
No,
design
he's
in.
like
And I
hot as an adult
yep,
man, a
yep.
fully
And so
adult
I showed
man.
my I'm
Yeah.
like, is this guy hot? And she was like, absolutely. I was like, yep, all right.
Adult
Yes.
Hot is
It's the
coming back.
full beard and then
Knocked
the
it out of the park, guys.
mustache.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Yep.
30,
God,
30,
it's
30 I hope that the Ghost in the Shell series is successful because we need to bring early 90s being horny for like a 25 to 30-year-old anime character back. And
yeah.
that's basically
Yeah.
what Masamune Shiro's whole idea was. He's just I'm very horny for adult women and no,
Yes, it's true.
the
I
people
saw people in the Ghost of the Shell trailer calling her lesbian Spike Spiegel, and it's so real.
So the suit in that does exist, but the problem is they're playing jazz under it, and she's looking like Spike, and So even though they took they're doing, we can, just as a side note, yeah, Science Saru is doing Ghost in the Shell. It looks sick. They're making it like actually resonant with the manga. We have a very good piece on sort of the PlayStation 1 Ghost in the Shell, just the actual like game that Isaiah wrote, and I quite like, and how like load bearing, not and the soundtrack itself is as well, is something I would add to that. But getting back to Saros for a second, you know, if you don't know what this game is, it is like, if you played Returnal, it is more forgiving than Returnal by like a significant margin.
Yeah,
it does do the
I
adaptive
described it
trigger
as
thing.
like generous. It's a game that's generous, and Returnal is not a generous game.
Yes.
Returnal, if you get hit once, you're gonna eat shit immediately.
Yes.
Saros is a game that gives you a lot of health, gives you permanent upgrades that very quickly,
Yeah.
and also allows you to recover from mistakes in a way that Returnal really does not allow you to.
No, yeah. I think if I have any real criticism of how they implement that, though, I think that the tech tree is basically fake. Like that you can't.
It is fake. Yeah.
You can't really. It's kind of, it's like vaguely gated and linear. It's doing like it's doing the sphere grid thing, but it's like not really making you make concrete choices. So it really is just funneling you into like these areas. But basically, you know, third person shooter. You are the member of the Echelon 4. There have been 3 other echelons that go to Carcosa, if you know the word Carcosa, probably from True Detective, or because you are a fucking flying spaghetti monster ass nerd who is on Reddit or something like that and pays too much attention to Lovecraft shit. Like they are doing the Yellow King. They're doing the King in Yellow.
Yeah.
And they're doing it in space, and it's very Event Horizon, which I quite like.
Yes.
Which is that it's fun.
It's fun. It's gruesome. It is trying to present hellish, very hellish landscapes for you to traverse and explore.
Yes.
The monsters all have really interesting, unique, disgusting, slightly mechanical designs. And narratively, though, you're playing a guy who sucks, and who sucks very obviously from first breath.
Sucks.
I mean, he goes there and he's like, looking for Nitu, and everyone's like, we're looking for the survivors of the 3 colonies that were supposed to be here, and he's like,
yeah,
I don't care.
He's only in it for his wife, his ex-wife, who and like the thing about it that's nice is that, like, I don't know, I think I'm at this point in my life where the guy who has a lot of father issues baggage, you know, protagonist in the grand, like I say, PlayStation adjacent protagonists, you know, like, I am 30 or 40 years old and I have issues with intimacy and we're going to explore those, but, you know, maybe I'm cool. I don't really have a lot of time for that unless the character is like either we're doing sort of a guy who's cool with like Pragmata sidesteps that, which I like, or we're doing fucking Silent Hill 2 and the guy sucks ass. The guy has demons.
And you're like, just like watching a carnival of punishment for this man.
That's how
sucks.
you do like a flawed character, is that he fucking sucks. I want more Jimmy from fucking like mouthwashing. I want like curly shit. I want like somebody who's
I
like,
want Saul from Better Call Saul to be the protagonist here. You know, it takes you through as a narrative a lot of the same like motions as Spec Ops: The Line. It's not quite so pointed.
Yeah.
But it is like, there is like a parallel here. As you become more destructive, you learn more about how much Arjun sucks.
He sucks.
And that does work because he becomes more powerful and destructive to the world around him as you learn how he's destroyed all of his relationships and everything in his life. And like, there is a parallelism there.
And like there is like you see a lot of flashbacks. It's done in a very like the Lodge from Alan Wake kind of, you know, way. Parts of it, like, I really enjoy. There's a shot of like the weird hotel where like something horrible that was implied to have happened, like probably infidelity, you know, is like this. They use these bright yellow bed sheets in it, and it's these just shots of like intimacy, and it looks like some Tarsum saying shit. It looks like the cell to
two
me.
lips almost meeting,
Yeah.
a wind blowing in from the window, rustling these beautiful gauzy like window shades, just a wide shot of a bed, and the more you look at the scene, it's either a scene of intimacy or of violence. It's enigmatic and evocative in a way that most games
Hmm.
are. I think the only real comparison is to Remedy, who also really excels in this kind of enigmatic, like suggestive, not allowing you to resolve narrative work.
Hmm.
It's unique to Housemark in that it has a lot in common also with Returnal,
It's
but
almost like
it
they're in the
is
same country and might have a similar
what's going
milieu.
on in Finland?
What's going
I
on with
don't
Finland?
know.
I actually,
Finland,
there's some old
yeah.
like 70s Finnish movies and they're like kind of inscrutable to me. I don't know. I think that like this is also, this, maybe you see this in the movements. I don't know. But the thing that I really appreciate about it is, there are to describe the gameplay a little bit, you'll get a weapon, it will have like a sort of like an aim down sight, or like an aim down sight alt fire as well as a main fire, and that's used the PlayStation, the dual senses, like resistive triggers. If you've never used something that uses the resistive triggers with any kind of like regularity, that shit just eats your battery, man. That shit will like,
Yeah.
you may have to recharge your battery halfway through the game. It's rough.
That has happened to me
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
for sure. It is cool to see a game use 100% of the DualSense 5, which is not something that most PlayStation games do
Yeah.
because there aren't a lot of first-party PlayStation games.
There also there also are
Yeah.
really fantastic. Well, there are now because they realized like, why are we doing this? It's not worth the money for single player games at
Hmm.
least. I think the thing I find interesting is that like they do like some of the narrative. I don't want to say it's badly written. It's just corny in certain ways in the
Hmm.
micro, but in the macro works quite well. If you don't know what the King of Yellow's whole deal is in the mythos, I mean, like, they're not Lovecraft, but Lovecraft, not Lovecraft per se, but Lovecraft adjacent, and
It's
he's
something
the,
that inspired Lovecraft. Yeah.
I mean, he's incorporated into the mythos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was something Chalmers or Chambers, Robert W. Chambers wrote a series of short stories about a play called The King in Yellow, where if you read it, you go insane. And like these series of short stories do have, they are loosely connected to each other. There are a couple of recurring like like iconography that also show up in Saros the game, but it is like from, he's like a contemporary or just before Lovecraft, and then as the Lovecraft Cthulhu mythos became less of a specific thing that Lovecraft was doing and more of a playground in the public domain that a lot of authors were playing with, the King in Yellow and Carcosa and the Yellow Sign all did get incorporated into that
yeah.
mythos.
It's
But
if you've ever,
those stories are good, by the
they're
way,
good
too. They're
stories actually. He's
they're
a
really
better
fun.
writer than
Yeah,
Lovecraft in some ways.
yeah,
Uh,
there's pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like I don't know. I also like played a lot of Call of Cthulhu, so I know Hastur, the King in Yellow, through that. And you always see like the Migo and like all the little creatures in the monster manual, and they do a good job at sort of like the actual milieu of each level is really fascinating because like the first one is very like a lot like an alien landscape with a lot of cathedrals, and there's like so many like things that look like alien shapes doing like Rodin's Gate to Hell, and
Hmm.
then you get to the second level and it's like the underground part of the Matrix movies, and you get a lot of like things that look like the bots
Hmm.
from the Matrix, and they like really
Yeah.
mix up. And then there's a poison swamp because fucking of course there is. And the thing about it, the game that's really interesting is they let you take a running start in this game. So like there's like certain biomes in each area, and as you get stronger, defeating those biomes is easier, which means that it becomes trivial to beat the first biome eventually, and which means that you can just every time you take a new run at a biome, you can just start from the beginning. And by the end, those are like 4 hour long runs. You know what I mean? And I did it every time because I think it's funny. And because my desire to have a hard time is always superseded by my desire to break a game. Like I love
Yeah.
fucking. I like being Bane and just like breaking the mechanics of a game. And if they give
It
me an
gives you
inch,
so many tools to just become a fucking monster
yeah,
and like melt things.
this is the
I
yeah, this is
I I love it.
The thing that I see a lot of people say, like, oh, it's too, there's not enough real challenge, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, first off, grow up. Second, they need to be able to make a game that people can finish because they are trying to scale up. And third, if you want to make it hard, it can be hard. Just I've seen people in the subreddit be like, I don't let myself go beyond like a previous biome. There's some
Hmm.
really cool mechanical things in this game, like there's an eclipse that happens. We should also mention there's a fucking eclipse happening all the time, and it is clearly.
Hmm.
And the thing about Haster, by the way, is that he's the one that makes you really nuts. Like all of the elder gods or great elder ones in like the mythos, they all fuck with you. They all make you go, I'm crazy now, like that. But he's the one that really fucking gets under your skin and like really like tweaks your like desires and like what you want, and like that's why he's one of the more interesting ones, like one of the more
Hmm.
like oddly human ones is. And so there's an eclipse that keeps happening, and when you get to the eclipse there will be the ability to like pick up items and stuff like that, but those artifacts will be corrupted, and if you beat the boss in the biome they're purified again. And then you get into the ability to sort of like tweak modifiers. The modifiers I used near the end were disgusting. I was really having fun with that, and lets you just sort of tweak if you want the game to be harder or easier. I think it's a good game.
Yeah.
I think that like it lost steam for me a little bit near the end because I was playing it so weirdly and because I was playing it like
Hmm.
so aggressively in this one weird way. But that's a me thing. It also, in addition to doing orbs, does one of my favorite things, which is, hey guys, we saw the game Ikaruga. Why isn't anyone doing Ikaruga stuff? If nobody here has played the game, Ikaruga is a bullet hell shooter from that was Treasure, I think, right? And and the idea behind Ikaruga is there are two colors of bullets, and at any time you can switch the color of your shield, and one of those absorbs and the other
Oh,
doesn't.
yeah.
And so it's this very like I'm doing motions if you're listening to this on the podcast. And so
Hmm.
they took that concept and said, why don't we do that in a Returnal style like action game? There's a lot of Returnal in this game also as well. And so the blue bullets you can absorb and then just throw at people. The yellow bullets, notably, you still can absorb but will corrupt you. Um, and you get through that by basically throwing your ult. In fact, the first boss which is like a fucked up evil tree. There's actually a way to beat the third phase where you just straight up don't dodge anything. You just take
Yeah.
everything and you
No,
just
I
keep
sit there
throwing
and I
bombs at
eat
it.
it into my shield, and when you absorb orbs into your shield, it fires up your power. It powers up your power weapon. So
Yeah.
your first power weapon is literally a fucking rocket launcher, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit there in the third phase when it's throwing so many orbs at you, and just hit it in the face with a rocket 10
Yeah.
times in a row.
Corruption reduces your max HP, and it will also make you have a fucked up thing come out of your back, which is neat. But like if you just tank the yellow bullets and then just keep throwing them at them, you're still charging your power weapon,
Yeah.
but the power weapon will undo the corruption. So you can just tank it and just go boom, 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 more than you think. And there's a lot of strategies around that
Yeah.
that are really interesting. The red ones, you can't unless you get this ability
You
to deflect them later, which adds an entire cool layer of like reflect, absorb, dodge, and there's just a
Yeah.
real. By the end of it, there's like
It
a
feels like a
real.
dance.
Yeah,
You
I
are dancing between all of these different mechanics that are just colliding with each other. It does a lot better job of explaining how the mechanics like relate to each other. But in the beginning of the game, I was having some trouble because I wasn't doing the dynamic reload thing, right? Like if
mhm.
you run
Yeah,
out of bullets in this game, you get this little bar and you have to
yeah,
like press reload at the right time to get your bullets back more quickly, essentially. I did not realize that that also charges your power weapon.
yeah,
So you were running around and it's like, okay, jump, dodge, shield, dynamic reload. And through all of those, all these systems feed into each other
yeah.
in the effort of creating like an unstoppable shooting machine.
And I will say,
I would say Returnal is a game that rewarded streakiness, but it was also very punishing if you lose your good streak, essentially.
yeah,
This is a game that is trying to get you into an unending good streak of you just get into flow state. I've
mhm,
had moments where I did not even realize I didn't get hit at all during a level
yeah,
because I was just so absorbed with dancing between all these different mechanics as I am playing
I
around.
think adrenaline is the thing that builds up if you don't get hit, and that's
Yeah.
but then
It makes the game easier for
it
you.
makes the game easier for you if you don't get hit, which in turn, can be undone by falling down one of the many pits in this game, which is very easy to fall down the hit. I will also say this is a game that is extremely backpedal necessary for me because
Yeah.
the most of the action takes place on the L1, L2, R1, R2, and so being able to not take my fingers off the trigger and being able to dash and to melee slash deflect with slash shield, because that's all one button,
Yeah.
was really really useful for me. There are weapons in the game that are fucking busted. A lot of them are kind of like auto targeting, which feels very sectory or bullet hell. Someone asked, and I have a modified dual sense. I like took mine apart. I should put another battery in there, but it does actually really make a difference in terms of like being able to control these things. The other thing that's really nice is there's certain weapons that just auto target and certain ones that don't, and the ones that don't are actively more powerful and reward you hitting out specific body parts that they will then like highlight. So they approached it. It's sort of like the smart rifle is the best weapon in the game. It's fucking straight up like
Yeah.
it's the one that you could just like pick up, use for the entire time. But then you do get some other ones that are quite good. The crossbow, the repeating crossbow.
Yeah, repeater crossbow is great. I mean, it has the thing that makes a smart rifle good, which is that it has seeking bullets. Essentially,
Mhm.
anytime you get to be you can just run around and not really worry about having precise aiming. Will be easier for you,
You can just shoot them
because
into
you
the
are
other
running around a
room.
lot.
Yeah, you could shoot them into
Yeah,
the other room and
exactly.
just have them take care of the boss. Which I guess that does feel wrong. But again, if that bothers you, use a different gun. Man, use the
Yeah,
fucking if you don't want to.
you control the buttons you press.
You are in control of the buttons you press of the video game you're playing, and if you don't like it, then put some restrictions on yourself. It's like, I don't know, Hunter x Hunter, just like makes you more powerful that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, the thing about it that I think really good. Also the chakram, which you get later, it seems to suck until it doesn't, and that's like a act.
Yeah.
It's like a spinning chakram on a
Yeah.
gun, and it just sticks in
Oh
whatever you
yeah.
attack, and it is really good against bosses that are there when you have one thing you need to kill. It's not good against like a bunch of enemies, but if you need to kill one thing, you just need to shove it into it and then just have it follow it around. That's really really quite good. And there's
That
also
sounds lovely.
and they also do a lot of good stuff with like sort of flashback. Like a lot of the cutscenes are at least well done. Again, slightly corny,
Yeah.
but again, it's the material is blends it. Like Event Horizon is the good comparison here to me, where it's like sometimes it gets into Alan Wakey territory, but other times it's just corny. Like this is fucking doom metal shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, they got sludge going on in the background. It's all just one really long chord all the time in the
yeah,
soundtrack. It's really, for me, that's the shit I am a fucking sicko for,
yeah,
right? Anytime you're playing a video game and it feels like you're playing a metal album cover, that's what it's giving me. And I'm just down. I'm down for even the parts that I think are a little bit corny. I think I don't think it doesn't reach the high water marks of Returnal, which
yeah,
is a game that just fucking hates you.
yeah.
Returnal hates you, and it's like narratively important that the game hates you. And I think the actress from Returnal is phenomenal. I wonder if she does theater, because she does these like wailing monologues where you can feel her voice being wrenched up from
Mm-hmm.
her diaphragm, like a misery that has been collected over hundreds of years. And I miss that performance.
Yeah,
But Arjun is just a completely different character to Celine.
yeah,
So it's hard to even get mad at that. Which
yeah,
game is better? I think it's just a matter of taste. I
yeah.
think Returnal is special, and maybe it's a little bit better because it's so singular, but it's also it it will punish you.
Yeah.
It was not nice to you, and
No.
Returnal is a game that wants to be a little bit nicer to you.
It wants to be. It wants this. They want this game to not be played by like five people, and
Yeah, exactly.
which
They don't
we
want
don't.
you to look up the ending on YouTube on this one. They want you to finish it.
Which, as Lucas pointed out, is none of our business. It's
Yeah.
none of our business how many fucking people play this game, as Lucas pointed
Absolutely.
out.
All
And
right. Do you want to do mailbag, or do we have anything else you'd like to talk
I guess
about
the one
video
thing I
game
will
culture
say,
wise?
yeah, the one thing I will say is that it is nice to it's nice to have a game that feels so arcadey. I think that's what makes me really. I'm a sucker for that shit. I'm a sucker for this. Is part of the reason
Yeah.
why I'm a sucker for this and for Pragmata is that like you guys put Henry Hatsworth into a fucking game about like into Dead Space. Your child is playing
Yeah.
Henry Hatsworth and you are doing Dead Space stuff, and it's like I love that shit. I'm glad we're getting back to fucking normalized video games. And I will say, obviously there are, because it stars someone who is, let's say, not white, there are quite a
Hmm.
number of people who are being reactionary, but also fuck them, who cares?
Yeah, this is a lot easier of a game to defeat the reactionary grifter class with, because it's not only a really good video game, but it is a video game in the way that they accept that definition of the word. It
It,
is not a walking simulator.
yeah,
You have a gun.
it literally is the thing they claim to want, which is just doom
Yes.
metal shooting shit. They just don't like it involves like you getting like fucked over by your wife or something like that. And it's
Yeah,
like,
it's
yeah, I don't know,
loser shit.
man. Fucking play a real video game. I don't fucking know. This is a real video game. Play it. It's good.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the mailbag. As always, our questions come from our Discord, which you can join if you subscribe to the site. So if you'd like to ask us questions in the mailbag, please do subscribe to us, because we're good and I think everything's nice. We start off with a question from Paschetti, which I love this question. I already have an answer, and I think this answer is going to amuse Luke. But the question is, we've seen tons of Mario sports over the years. What other video game franchise would you like to see have a sports entry? And I thought about this, and I think genuinely my pick for this is there should be a Persona sports.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Yakuza.
I mean, Yakuza
Yeah,
sports
Yakuza would be
also
really good.
one
Which would
100%.
be. I mean, there already is sports in Yakuza, so that is obviously my answer. I want to
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
I want to see Kazuma Kiryu play sevens rugby. Um, it's some kind of sports minigame collection. But yes, Persona would also be amazing if it retained like an NBA Jam kind of thing where
Yeah.
you're playing as all the kids, but if you score a certain amount of points or get on a hot streak, you get to like transform into your persona and
You
just go,
become your persona,
yeah,
and
just go
that's your
nuts.
Yeah,
baller
that would
now.
be fucking
That's
stellar.
your sort of
Yeah.
he's on fire moment. It's you
Yeah,
get to turn
yeah.
into your persona.
I,
But
I,
you're
I would
playing like
love
2-on-2
that.
hoops or something. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think for me, a critical portion of this is you have to have a back catalog that you can have be your roster, which is why Mega Man
Mhm.
Soccer is so good to me. Is like you have all the
Yeah.
like robot masters, and I'm surprised they haven't really leaned in on that, except for the fact that they don't know what to do with Mega Man anyway. But I do think that like Final Fantasy would be pretty good because you do
Oh.
have the sort of like Waka is obviously going to be like the fucking Pele of that goddamn game. You know what I mean? Like it's just
I mean, there's already Blitzball, right? Like they
yeah.
already should make a standalone Blitzball game. That's
Well, he's just like, this is
100% true.
simply Blitzball without the big sphere of water. I understand that.
I understand
Chocobo
this.
Racing as well, but it's like
Yeah.
every character from Final Fantasies 6 through 15 you can choose from as a racer in it. That's a no-brainer.
That
feel
is,
like
they would
FromSoft-
be printing money.
Like the greater every game FromSoft has done would be neat. You just like throw all of
Oh,
them,
man.
like, doing, like I feel like they would maybe a little bit. if
They
you-
they understand that they have made characters and that some of these characters are fan favorites, which is cute. So I think that they would, like, if you look at Night Rain, a game I play once a week with my friends,
yeah.
it is a game where they're like, no, these are distinct characters. These are not just avatars. These are characters, and you are going to learn to love these characters. They are not just John Night Rain. That's Guardian. Fuck yourself.
I feel like this exists on the same kind of spaces like in the PS2 DS era. These games would have existed. We just wouldn't have known about them. They would have been these weird like Japan only games,
Yeah.
like Super Robot Wars. Like you would have known some guy with a chipped PS2. He'd be like, "Come over to my house. I've got the Yakuza sports game." You'd be like, "What's Yakuza? It's not out yet." And he'd go, "Oh, I meant Final Fantasy." And you'd play you could
Yeah.
you'd be like, "Oh my god, how have I never known about this?" And it's some like fucked up Japanese sports game that's got 19 menu screens you have to get through, and like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time someone showed me air geese, like that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
also-
that's why this game isn't out here. Okay, I got it. But still, it's a cool concept.
Also, that's the
Yeah.
exact shape of game, like a DS game that like 3 people have played, and 2 of them are like 25-year-old YouTubers who are weird. Is
Yeah,
like,
it was my
is
go ahead.
no, is that like those are always the games that where you're like you're looking up for information on YouTube and you'll just see OST and you'll click on it. You're like, fuck, this goes so hard. Why is this soundtrack so good? And
Yeah.
I've never heard it.
Yeah. I mean, we need to make Persona Sports happen just to let the people at Atlas that do music to cook, essentially. Just let them cook heavy. Don't bring Lotus Juice, though. I can't fucking stand Lotus Juice. Worst rapper of all time.
Atlas, if you need help, aftermath.site, contact us. There's the email we get to all of us. We're happy to help choose which characters come in the game, playing which sports with which personas, and which
you need to have
soundtrack
characters from Persona 2. I swear to God. Like, you just acknowledge that they're real, okay? I miss them.
Also, the regular other Mega 10 games, you know, like, oh, before I forget, by the way, I forgot to mention I've been playing Forbidden Solitaire, and I really like Forbidden Solitaire.
We do actually have a question. Let me go back to the mailbag. Reach asks, I'm currently playing Forbidden Solitaire.
Okay, then.
When did you last play a game that had the conceit of, you know, I really shouldn't be playing this? Forbidden Solitaire looks really cute. It is solitaire, but it's like has a lot of full motion video of people being this game is haunted.
No, so the idea is that it's like your friend found a video game that from the 90s that involved like the developer having a bunch of gruesome murders, and it's like kind of hypercard like the Seventh Guest shit. And so it's this element of like you're playing solitaire in a dungeon. The mechanics are actually quite nice, and then there's like your friend is like messaging you in like Windows XP over like, I don't know, MSN Messenger, like videos of like news clippings of like the grisly murders involved in it. It's very creepypasta. It's very fun. I would highly suggest people play it. It's like $16. It's not that long. It may include certain developers we know of like
interesting.
Click Holding maybe have cameos as a weird developer going like this, like shocked face.
Nice.
No, it's a good.
It reminds me of a comic that is also a tabletop RPG that I really like. That's called Die, DIE. Which is written by former games journalist Kieran Gillen.
Yeah.
And the entire conceit of Die is you are a group of adults that played this game once as teenagers. And when you play this game, you were fucking Jumanji style put into the fantasy world that you invented. And as adults, you're going to play it one more time.
Games
it is all about you shouldn't play this, and by playing it you are going to reveal all of the fucked up like teenage relationship issues that never got resolved and then like curdled as adults. And I do love that conceit of like, don't play it, please. So
I think one I feel that about also like the idea of like a game that feels haunted in its own ways. I feel that way about Ready or Not. Which is sort of the like SWAT team, vaguely reactionary.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that does
an entry.
seem haunted.
I've heard. Oh, here's the thing I will say. I've heard people make extremely compelling cases that the DLC knows what it's doing and is actually quite interesting. But it is very much like saying the thing that like something like Rainbow Six Siege implies, but without any of the kind of like weird cute shit. It's like, no, this is just like fascist, you know. And it reminds me of like the original Rainbow Six, where it's like planning routes and then you die suddenly, and then like having a team, but it's also extremely cursed because it's a fucking milsim game.
Yep. All right, from Mechtroid we have the question, what game show slash reality TV show, okay, that opens things up for me, do you most want to be a contestant on? If we're talking about reality television shows, I wish I could go back in time to the first season of Vanderpump Rules and just be in the bar for all of the things that happened, because the first season of Vanderpump Rules is a case study in Jax being a person that can't stop lying and can't stop cheating on his girlfriend, and that's just that's cinema. A real game show, it's Game Changer for me. The Dropout show, where they just torture you as a contestant, because I think I do pretty well. Do either of you have a reality television show or game show that you want to be on?
Takeshi's Castle.
See,
my God!
Original or reboot. I don't care.
So mine was going to be Downtown Nogaki no Tsukai. I don't know. I'm more just fascinated by the Gaki no Tsukai, like year long, like hour and a half long, no laughing things. I think those are the funniest fucking things ever. Except that one time where it got extremely problematic. But that's also Japanese media, so who kind of comes with the territory
Yeah.
sometimes.
Womp womp.
Wah, wah. But the 24-hour tag is like one of the funniest fucking videos I've ever seen in my life. It's like an hour and a half long, and it's just them in a gymnasium, and people can come out of the walls and like, and if they catch them, it tells them what they're wearing like Zentai suits, and it's like what they're gonna do to the person is written on their chest. So it's like a guy will just pop out of a platform, and he'll just say spanking machine on him, and they'll just run around. But it's like 24 hours long, and it is really funny because it is like they have to sleep there and shit, and this can happen when they're sleeping too. And it's just this is one of them just fucking with them for 24 hours and finding increasingly elaborate ones to do.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful series of pranks. I also finally watched the season of Traitors where everyone votes off Michael Rappaport because they just find him so fucking annoying. And
Yeah,
I
makes
think
sense.
I think I could be pretty good at Traitors. I probably would be. It's very funny. The season with Michael Rappaport is very funny because he's not a traitor, and then eventually all of the faithfuls, the non-traitors, decide that they just fucking hate this guy, and they all decide we're all gonna vote him out. We don't think you're a traitor, but we think you're so irritating. It's great. I love that. And then our last question from Mystic Eddie T. Just for fun, what are your favorite guilty pleasure music, guilty pleasure video games, films, shows, or media in general? I don't feel guilty about any
No.
of my pleasures.
Same.
I don't. I will say I was very surprised pleasantly by how much I'm enjoying the new Harry Styles album. An album I'm not a directioner, and I didn't listen to the first Harry Styles album, but I put it on just to like while I was cooking. And there's a song like the 3/4 of the way through, he just wrote a funk song, and it's like good. It's got a sexy little bass groove and like a Parliament style keyboard solo in there. And I was like, I didn't know. Okay, white boy. Like I didn't know you could do that shit. Fine. But I guess any unexpected pleasures, we'll say, instead of guilty pleasures.
Yeah, it's the if you're reading the site, you know I am working backwards through Death Stranding years late. The Death Stranding 2 soundtrack is front to back full of songs I would not only never listen to under any previous circumstances normally, but would cast wary looks over people who did listen to that music of their own free will under normal circumstance. It's just basically that's a long-winded way of saying it's very much not for me. It's not my music.
Yeah.
And
You are not a Caroline Polachek fan already? Oh my god.
ooh, spoilers. And yet here I am because of my, classic soundtrack trick, because of my association with the moments and the feelings of the game being evoked by those songs. I am bumping like Asylum for the stuff that I would just never listen to otherwise. And my wife is like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" I'm like, "It's from a soundtrack. It's from the walking game with the luggage." And
He's
yeah,
I will say,
and I'm like, my kids
yeah.
are having to listen to it in the car. They're like, "Dad, this music's so boring." I'm like, "Shut up. It's fine. It's great."
The thing that's so funny
That's so
about
cute.
Kojima is so fucking good at having the most washed fucking taste on earth, but finding the individual tracks that you're like, ah, fuck, he's right, this one's pretty good.
And it did because I was
magical.
looking at I was looking at the albums these tracks came from, and I'm like, absolutely not. I'm turning this off immediately, and then I will go back to the song from the game, and I'm like, oh, now I'm thinking about Death Stranding again. This is great.
Yeah. No,
Churches.
he's right. He's right.
He's got us.
Churches. Yep.
Yeah, churches. Man, absolutely not under most circumstances, but you fucking got me on the Death Stranding song. So
Yep.
Caroline
Absolutely.
Polachek.
Absolutely. I do feel that way about Woodkid. It's a band I would never listen to, but those songs when they show up on the soundtrack in a perfect plateau, or I can see the entire mountaintop landscape, I'm like, man, actually, this kind of fucks. This is kind of
fucking
fucking
good.
good.
churches is even funnier in Death Stranding too, because they're like in the game.
Yeah.
What really?
Yeah,
They're
they are.
vets. Like they run
an animal sanctuary.
They
Yeah.
run a vet clinic. Oh yeah, animal sanctuary for like kangaroos, like the surviving Australian animals. You have to bring them kangaroos to like help them get better.
Yeah.
And it's
You have to
but they've got their normal accents out in the middle of the post-apocalyptic Australian outback. They're like, right, bring us a kangaroo, man. It's great. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
right.
nobody else
Right.
has that accent. By the way, that's the thing I love about the fake Australia is that there's like maybe one other Australian guy, and like the rest of them are literally just like they're just there, and you will like try to find a fucking a koala or something that's like just like crawling at like 3 miles an hour on the ground, and then you just put in a perfectly shaped koala container, and then you put it on the back of your bike and bring it, and Churches takes care of it, and it's like,
Mhm.
and if the animal
Thanks, guys.
and if
Yep.
the animal dies, a little hologram grave appears of it, and it's very, very sad.
Oh,
And that's how an
that's
ostrich,
sad.
an emu, actually died.
Do you have any unexpected surprises, Chris, or unexpected pleasures recently, Chris? Everything you find pleasurable, I
It's
don't
kind
think
of
you are
idiosyncratic.
surprised by it.
No,
Yeah.
I have been watching Euphoria, but only starting with the last
Oh,
two
right.
episodes, because my girlfriend's into it as a train wreck, and I find it like fascinating to watch without having any context. And every time I ask for more context, she's like, "Don't worry about it. It's a different show now. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Why is Sydney Sweeney
Euphoria.
doing the opening to Jackass Forever, but with her boobs instead of Chris Pontius's penis? I don't know, man."
That's so wild. Sam Levinson should be stopped. Is how I feel.
There's a
Sam
lot of
Levinson clearly depended a lot on Zendaya being a very hands-on executive producer in the first 2 seasons of the show.
she
You can
seems
see
really
the
checked
way in
out.
which season 1 is clearly a Zendaya vehicle.
Yeah,
And it's her, she is narrating the show. She's in almost every scene in the show. The show is about her and about her struggle as a teenager that's addicted to drugs and going to high school. Um, the gap between, and she needed that at the time because she was mostly a Disney person, and the movies she had been in did not really demonstrate her acting talent. In the intervening years between 2 and 3, it's been so many years that Zendaya has fucking blown the fuck up as a powerhouse
everybody
and has a
has.
lot of,
Everybody in the show
yeah,
has.
everyone from that
Fucking
cast has, yeah,
everybody. Fucking Hunter Schafer. Like everybody in this cast is
yeah,
way too good for this show, or at least way too big
yeah,
for this
and it's
show.
obvious.
And it's
It's
really fucking
obvious now.
obvious that it's just like one weird guy, like who is the son of Barry Levinson and who was in the movie Toys. And that's why that scene is so funny, is because I was like, did you just watch Toys a lot? Because like I respect that, but that's weird. It's a weird
Did
thing
he
to
give
do.
you a giant test thing?
He did a giant test
To
thing,
watch your
yeah,
dad's movie?
yeah. Because there's a scene in Toys where they're in like a little like set, and they're like the planes are attacking them, and it's like, did you just watch Toys a lot because you were in Toys? And it's like, I don't know. I don't really
Yeah.
like that show, but and I think it's embarrassing and poorly written, and I'm excited to see
Yeah.
whatever his crash out is after everyone realizes we're not doing this anymore.
I'm excited to see whatever his crash out is also. All right, that'll be the show. Chris, you have the document that tells us what to say at the end of the show. So can you take us out?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I gotta do it up more. I wish I did not think about that fast enough. Okay. No, it doesn't
No
actually say the
business.
out.
Oh
Anyway,
no!
I'll do it off my head. Anyway, this has been so this has been Aftermath Hours, weekly podcast by Aftermath.site. I'm spacing out on this. I'm really sorry, but this part is not actually written.
It's fine. We
If you
did a
like,
podcast.
yeah, we did. If you like the show, please rate and subscribe us to on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever your platform of choice is. And in addition to that, if you like us, like our writing, visit aftermath.site, subscribe, do whatever you can, join the Discord where you get access to the mailbag and whatnot. Until next week, we will see you again later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.